Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jack Bridges. I am here and I'm going to show you how to replace the center post cable in your center post 2 if it's damaged, or if you're going to upgrade to the CineLive electronics. We're going to cover some other little pieces like how to adjust the set screws with the new nylon balls that have been added in there, and why you need to keep these guys tight and these radial screws tight. What's going to happen is if you need to replace your center post cable, you either get the same replacement cable if you have the CineLive electronics, or you damaged it. And Michelle's going to send you a FedEx package out with your cable in it. Michelle's my wife, for those of you that don't know. You're going to get it in the mail. You're going to throw your little FedEx package away, and you're going to be like, holy crap, what do I do now? Well, you need to get a few tools together. Your first tool will be a 3/32 Allen wrench, a 5/32 Allen wrench, a set of retaining ring pliers. These are 90 degree and they have a very small hole on there. Somewhere on our website, I believe, it gives you the dimensions of that, but you just need some real small ones. And these they change from external to internal. And I would get those. You can buy individual ones, but why buy two when you can buy one? You will need a felt tip marker. Any color will do. I use silver, but I wouldn't do black if I were you. And you have some Phillips head screws, or not Phillips head screws, Phillips head screwdriver. I have two different kinds. This is the one for easy screws. And then this one right here is an attitude adjuster for those stubborn screws. You will need Loctite 242. It is your best friend, and you've seen it many times in our other videos. You could use some white lithium grease. It's not that important on this particular thing, but I do go ahead and re-lube things while I'm in there. And you need a piece of wire that is a little bit longer than the center post, because you're going to use this to fish your cable back in after you replace the new cable. So the first thing I need to do is I need to mark. Actually, I'll take off this monitor arm bushing there, and you see these threads right here, and you have threads over here on the outer post. This is the inner post. So I'm going to pick up my marking pen, and I'm just going to mark the post itself and the threads. And that is so that you can put everything right back like you found it. And I'll go over here, we'll do the same thing. I'm just marking that so I can put it right back in the same spot. The reason that is important is this bolt pattern, you can reverse it and put it exactly 180 degrees opposite from where you started at. And if you do that, the camera lens and the battery rack will be facing the opposite direction in which you intended it to. So the first thing, we'll start taking off these set screws, or these screws. These screws I'm taking out right now are on the inner post, the small one. These are 440 by 3/16 undercut screws. They have an undercut head, and a normal screw will stick up above this surface, and you won't be able to get your gimbal on or anything. It just won't work. There are 9 of these screws. So when you get done doing this, there should be 9 screws sitting right here. Let's hope you don't have 7. If you are missing any of these screws, you need to contact Michelle or myself or Chad, and we will get you some new screws out, because these are important. So I have 9 of those, and I marked where my post goes before I move anything. Now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to pull out the 440 by 1/4 undercut heads as well. So these are 1/4, and the other ones we just did were 3/16. And if you put the 3/16, you can put them in the wrong side and you can put the quarters over here. But if you put the quarters down where the 3/16 goes and you try to put your electronics module back on, it's not going to go, because the components inside there are going to collide with the 440 by 1/4 screw. because you put it in a 440 by 3/16 hole. So get this last one off here. Is that, no, we got two more here. There we go. We got them all out. Now you can start at this end or you can start at that end. It really doesn't matter. I typically start on this end. Now, if this has been in here for a very long time, you might have to use your upper junction box to twist that off and wiggle it out. This is the connector that is on the bottom of, or on the top of your battery rack, on the portion with the retaining ring on it that threads onto the center post. I simply use this part as a tool, so I'm just going to stick it in there like I plugged it in the thing, and I'm going to pull it. And it's going to help me get the leverage that I need. You can use your battery rack, but usually it'll pop right out. So you want to orientate this so that you can access the two holes with the retaining ring pliers. And you want to be squeezing. If you want to squeeze those two pieces together, if they're opening, you're trying to put it on an external surface. So we stab that in there, squeeze them a little bit, and pull that part right off. Now your retaining ring, hopefully if you're lucky, it stayed right there. This opposite side, I'm going to grab it, put my tools back where they go, get those threads off of there, and I'm going to pull the whole thing out like a brain stem. But I still got to get this piece off, because this is either our bad cable or the cable we want to replace, because we're upgrading electronics. So you put those two guys there. Now we should have sent you some retaining rings with this cable. If someone in the office forgot, call me, I'll smack them. If in that event, you can harvest the ones off of your old cable. They are just fine to reuse. I reuse them all the time. And just kind of get that off of there. Now, at this point, you want to get the offending cable out of your line of sight so you don't mess around, go get a cup of coffee, pet the dog, anything like that, and put that same cable back in. That has happened once or twice. So that's out of there. And we're going to put this. This is a bad cable. I've marked it with blue tape so I make sure that it doesn't go back into inventory. So you are at this point, cable's out. You have an empty inner and outer center post with the clamp assembly on it. While we're right here, before we start putting that back in there, let's go ahead and pull a little bit of maintenance on it. I will open my clamp. I'll take my 5/32 wrench and I'm going to put it right here in this screw. Use the 5/32 wrench to loosen this bolt, and all this mess is going to drop out of here, watch. And you're going to go, oh no. Now there's a bolt there, but right here, it's either attached to the bolt or it can hide right here, is this little washer. You don't want to lose this little washer right here, because that's not a purchased part. That's actually cut on a lathe here at Pro, and you need that. This little brass piece should stay in here, but if it comes out, you can take it out and you can wipe off the old gunk and funk if you want, and re-lube it if you choose. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get a paper towel right here, and I'm going to wipe all that junk off of there, because you know what that is? That's dead skin, salt, oil, everything from your hands from years of work and neglect and all that. And we just want to get this all cleaned up like a new rifle or a fishing pole. Get all this mess off there. Wipe it off of your washer. And this little brass piece. Now this is a funny looking piece, and you really should take a second to look at it. It has a flat edge or flat side on it, and then the opposite side has a beveled edge, and that is to work in conjunction with the cam on the clamp assembly. This beveled edge is never facing up, and I'll go through that in just a minute and show you how to reseat that in there. I have seen people that mount that in there backwards and their clamp doesn't work right, and they wonder why. So we're going to clean the seats in here where everything sits at as best we can. You can spray contact cleaner and all that stuff in there if you want. I'm just not doing it because this was already clean. I'm just re-lubing it to show you how. So I would get your white lithium grease, and I typically don't like to use that big brush. And you want to use this sparingly. You don't have to go crazy with it. You can put a little in that hole on this brass piece. Shove some in there. I put some on this surface of this lever just to keep little squeaks and things to a minimum. All that in there. Put a little on your bolt. Look, I'm scooping it everywhere. Some on your washer. And on the face right here is important. This is where that lever rotates at. So it's kind of like metal on metal squeaky wheel thing. Let me get the excess off of here. Then you want to pick up your clamp and this round bronze bushing. And you just push that in there and make sure, ouch, I got grease all over my fingers. And you're going to have grease all over your fingers too. Just kind of stick them in there. And I kind of orientate the hole that's coming through here just out. You'll figure that out in a minute, so it's not that important. What is important is you want to get this washer back onto this bolt so you don't lose it. All right, now back to this little guy. You'll see a 45-degree or the angled edges on it, and then on this side it is flat. You want the angled edge to go down into that point I'm going to show you. So we're simply going to rotate it. Notice the flat edge is facing up, and then there's a concaved portion here. The concave portion faces that direction, away from you. You just want to set this right in there so that there's a flat right here and a concave portion is facing that direction. Now, you got to kind of hold your mouth right, cross your toes, bite your tongue, all kinds of stuff, because you're going to pick up this bolt and you're going to pick this guy up, and I'm going to rotate this for you sideways so you can see. And it's kind of a marriage. You're going to go in on both sides, pushing the bolt through that other brass piece into the round piece that's inside the clamp, and voila, you have it. Your clamp assembly is back together, it's lubed, you're happy, your clamp assembly is happy. All right, now what we're going to cover is these set screws and what we've changed and why we changed them. There's one here and there's one here. I'm going to use my 3/32 Allen wrench, and you're going to loosen this. Now, if you've seen the other video, there's going to be a lot of gunk and crud in this hole from your hands and other people's hands running all over this gear for years and years and years. So you might have to put some oomph in here to get it, but make sure your Allen wrench is well seated into that set screw, even if you have to tap on it to cut through that gunk. So we're going to remove this set screw, and on yours this might be a conical set screw. It has a cone on the end of it. If it is, these are the pieces that we're going to replace it with. This is a new 1032 set screw, and it has a cup on it that rides right on top of this nylon ball I'm going to show you in just a minute, and rolls kind of like a bowling ball in an alley. We'll remove the other one. I'm going to pull out the inner post. Now here's where you want to be careful. You want to pull this out because these little balls will fall out. Yours probably won't, and they'll stay there like mine did. You want to push that through, and there he goes. This little nylon ball. If you have the old conical ones and don't have the nylon balls in there, just give us a call. Where'd the little sucker go? Oh, it fell out right here. Give us a call and we'll send you 2 of these new 1032 set screws with the little cup on it and some of these little balls. And you'll see why these are important right now. On this side you have a groove, and on this side you have a groove. And in the old days, that conical stainless steel set screw sat in that track, and adjusted properly, it was fine. But over time, and sometimes people play with these set screws because they think it loosens the clamp assembly or something, I don't know. But people do mess with them, and then your inner post and your outer post are out of time, and there's a lot of play in here. Well, with those conical set screws, it is literally banging on one side of this aluminum channel and then back on the other, and it wears grooves in it and damages that whole track system. So every time you go in and out with your inner post or your outer post, you shave off little bits of aluminum, and it becomes very difficult to use your center post. You know, when you're opening your clamp and moving in and out, sometimes it'll lock up. The only fix for that sometimes is the replacement of the inner post, and that's just due to improper maintenance, folks. If this gets replaced, then you've got to put the new nylon washers in there because you can't keep these timed. You have to check on that every once in a while. So now we're going to put them back in. So I open my clamp, I grab my inner post, and you see there's writing on this one, and then there's writing on this one. Not writing, there's numbers etched in there, a scale. Those do need to line up. You don't want to have a scale on one side and a scale on the other. Believe me, I've done that many times myself. This groove right here, you need to line up with this hole that you just took that set screw out of. Just kind of eyeball it, look in there like so, and you pick up your nylon ball and you drop it in there. And like the old days with a Canon, you want to pack the wadding in there, so you push that in there, and now it's sitting in that groove. You take your new 1032 set screw and your good buddy Loctite 242. Don't use the red stuff because that's permanent. And you don't need to squirt tons on there, but get you a good drop. Put that right in there. And you just want to seat that. This should still move. If you crank on it, you're not going to be able to pull this in and out, but you also don't want to have any play in here. So take it down until it moves gently or smoothly in and out without binding, but has no play in it. I flip it over, and I'm simply going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Push that down in there. Get my new cupped set screw. Put that in there. Take it down. Notice I'm twisting it here. I'm not twisting it here. I'm taking it down to where it stops. Checking. I'm checking for play. Can I go a little bit tighter? I think so. A little bit more. And I'm kind of liking the way that feels. There we go. And it will feel different with these new balls in here. You'll like it. And that is that. I'd wipe off the excess. Loctite. Keep your clamp out of the grease you just did. And now we're ready to reinstall our cable. What I like to do is you're going to take your string, whatever it is you made up. I'm using this 20-year-old one. It's kind of coming apart, but we're going to try to make it do. And you want to lash it around one end of the cable, and you feed it in through there so it comes out the opposite side, and you got something to tug to. Kind of feed that connector in there. Now the inner post is inside the outer post, so there is a little lip created by that in there. You just have to go around it. I know this is a little fat, so you have to kind of work it in there by twisting it so it tightens up on itself. See that? Tightens up on it. Pull a little bit, tightens up on it. Pull a little bit. And this is a brand new cable, so it's all squeaky and grabbing on the inside and all that good stuff. And while I have this end sticking out, this is the small, this is the outer post, this is the inner post. I got my retaining ring. You want to pinch that on there like so. I'm going to take my inner post receiver, and if you're trying to put the outer post receiver into the inner post, you'll figure it out real quick because it's not going to fit. Now take your retaining ring pliers. You want to compress it. You're going to stab it right in there like so. And there's a little groove on the inside there. You just kind of get it in the edge. But what you want to do here is you want to push or pull on that retaining ring with these pliers to make sure that it's sat in the groove. If it's not in there, it'll usually snap into the groove, or you've not far enough in there and it'll pull all the way out and you get to start all over again. So we're going to twist this until that goes in there like so. Flip the other end around. We're going to pull on our string. We're going to remove our string. Grab our retaining ring. Pop it onto the cable. Get your outer post receiver. Get your retaining rings. And snap it in there. Remember to pull, hear that little click, pull, hear that little click. You know those retaining rings are seated in there. You see how that's all crooked looking? All you have to do is rotate your cable and this guy will pop in there. Now, you remember those marks we put on there in the beginning? We just simply line those marks back up. I'll go ahead and do both of them at one time. See, that lines up. Now my holes are all lined up right like they're supposed to be. Now this is the inner post and this is the outer post. Remember, you want to use the smaller screws. These are 440 by 3/16, so they are shorter than the quarter. And on this step, actually let me back up a little bit, put them down there. You need Loctite 242, and I put a drop on the ends of each one of these screws. Boom, boom, boom. And you should be doing 18 drops because we have 18 screws. There we go. Now you won't miss having put Loctite on all your screws. Oops. There we go. Now you want to get these good and tight. Rotate it. Remember, we had 9 to start with. We should be putting back 9. And you want these screws really good and tight because they are the mechanical connection for the outer and inner post receivers onto your center post, which takes a lot of weight and torque. And now, I do this every day, so when I twist a screwdriver, buddy, it's getting twisted. So you might want to pick up a little bit bigger screwdriver and recheck all your screws. Now you want to push down on it real good or you'll strip the head out. But I have a really good grip when it comes to a screwdriver anymore. All right, to the outer post receiver, these are the 440 by 1/4 undercut head screws. And again, you want to put those in there with some real vigor. There we go. Now, I'm going to make sure that I had all of those screws in the top and all of those screws in the bottom, that I got my clamp assembly put back together correctly, that my post slides nicely, and then my clamp is working, and it is. That completes changing your center post cable, pulling maintenance on your clamp assembly, and changing out the old set screws with the nylon balls and the new set screws, or simply pulling maintenance on the existing ones that you have. You also want to make sure that you put the scale on the outer post receiver, or outer post and the inner post on the same side. If you have messed this up, now is the time to stop and fix it so that it's not a real big problem down the road when you're on set. So that covers all of that, and I hope you enjoyed it.